Hi, good morning. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Ashutosh.
Very good morning.
Welcome to the session, Ashutosh, and thank you so much for doing this. We're really all looking forward to it. A lot of attendees here for sure. Waiting it out for another 1 or 2 minutes, and then maybe we can start off. I'll start with your introduction, and then maybe we can take it from. You can take it from there. Right?
Sure.
So let's just give this another minute or two.
Sure.
So until that time, let me just kind of let everyone know, at least who's in this Chandigarh, Punjab area, that welcome to the 10 good days of weather that we have in the year. So it's going to be 10 good days now and 10 good days when winter comes. So enjoy the outdoors at this moment, because this ain't going to last. We're going to be 45-degree weather very, very soon.
Oh yes, with the holy weekend around the corner now, I think that kind of marks it, right, for everybody. Summer's here finally.
That's the holy. Holy is the change. Holy is when.
Yeah. All right, I think we should be good to go. So for everybody here, Ashutosh is a fairly well-known person in the ecosystem, and I mean, where do I start with introducing Ashutosh is really a question for me, because he wears so many hats and he's done so many things. He's played such crucial roles when it comes to helping startups and entrepreneurs, the founders, in various ways. So sometimes as a guide, sometimes as a friend, a lot of times as an advisor and a consultant. And he himself has been an entrepreneur. And the reason why he's here today is for this session particularly is especially because he's himself availed grants. So on that note, no one better to kind of hear it from than the person who himself has availed a lot of grants, right? So Ashutosh currently is the founding member at DS Center for Entrepreneurship, which is a part of IIT Delhi's Foundation for Innovation and Technology Transfer. And in the past, he's been with PhD CCI. He's been with T-Hub. He's also been a major part of other organizations. So I'd probably move it on to Ashutosh now and ask him to introduce himself and get started with the session.
Thank you for your kind words, and good morning, everyone. And yeah, thanks for gathering on weekend morning. Like Anchal mentioned in the introduction, I had the opportunity of going to a small town engineering school in Odisha. This was in 2005 to 2009. I majored in electronics and telecommunication engineering. And yeah, coming from a humble background, obviously we had big ambitions and big dreams. So trying to figure out, and that was still the 2G era. The world hadn't seen 3G and 4G. We were still on 56 kbps modems and trying to tinker with hardware and educating ourselves through the internet. And it wasn't as widely available as it is today. Thanks to a couple of grants that we could avail, we won a lot of college level competitions, particularly in robotics and coding, that sort of gave us the seed grant to build products. We received generous support from Department of Science and Technology, Government of India, MSME, and our college incubator as well. And that time it was KIT TBI in Bhubaneswar. And after that, the first angel investment was in the team. I made an exit, but the first investment was done by Indian Angel Network, then follow-on investments by SAF Partner, which is now Elevation Capital. And then, like we have in India, the India Post. In Germany, you have something called as Deutsche Post, became major partners and investors. And last year, it was valued somewhere around $600 million, with Microsoft leading $100 million round. So it shows possibly what a small support can, do to a team which wants to create a big impact on this planet. So maybe in the next 4 months or 6 months, you would see a unicorn coming out of then called Robotic Wares. Now it's called FarEye, and it's one of the top 5 logistic tech companies anywhere in the world. At this point in time, I am the founding member of the Center for Entrepreneurship in partnership with IIT Delhi and the DS Group. The center has been envisioned as a place to provide support to startups to become scale-ups, to accelerate their journey, take them to the global stage. But here we are gathering to talk about a totally different subject, that is grant funding and other support schemes. And many of you might have different views about it. Many of you might have had different experiences, maybe good or bad. But I can assure you that please don't let any of these define your opinion or generalize your opinion about this enabling ecosystem which exists, and we are thankful. Our days, it was limited. We now have more than 750 different nodal centers all across India. I mean, right from Manipur to Andamans to Pondicherry to Kashmir to anywhere in Tamil Nadu. And the support is widely available. Of course, they don't have a Twitter page, so chances are that you will not get regular updates. But then with the help and support of your incubator or innovation missions in different states, this information is now being widely circulated. We now have evangelists to help you not only get this information, but also help you in the preparation phase so that you become a deserving candidate to avail such support, which can do wonders for you. And I'd like to share my screen, although we would want to keep this session as interactive as possible. This is definitely not a lecture. And so this is my fancy building at IIT Delhi. And why do we actually need funds? So when we were in college, we started building products. We were still in our hostel rooms, and of course, I mean, you need little money to build a prototype, but then there, especially if you're tinkering with something in hardware, you might need more money than you expected, possibly for product development, for maybe testing, to maybe hire a couple of people, even on part-time basis or as freelancers. You need some raw material. You need to pay your CA or CS or lawyer. If you are in a space where some regulatory approval is to be required, if you want to file a patent or a trademark, or if you want to just go online and get early customers, I mean, you would need some money, right? And I don't have to tell this to you. I mean, you know what you need money for. But then we have different stages of startup where we need money. We need money at the ideation stage as well as validation, early traction, and scaling. And a lot of non-conventional source of, I'd say, the funding is available in each of these categories. So this is a common misconception that such kind of support is only available to idea state startups or pre-MVP state startups. No, I mean, we do have support schemes and frameworks and structure for startups in each one of these categories, even if it's a idea stage or a scale up. This discussion would focus around grants, but then we have other formats of non-equity based funding or financing available as well. And why grants should be your preferred, or I mean, the first go you should consider grants is because there's no component of risk. It's like a happy birthday gift, just like your mom and dad uh, give you every year. You don't ever have to repay this back. There is no collateral involved. There is no pressure for repayments. There is no interference from the grant supporting agency in terms of how you should be running your business or structuring your business. Of course, need this to say never have to return this. Where and how this money is coming from the Government of India, from the state governments, from various corporates who has different challenges with their CSR budgets, or I mean the marketing budgets, and any other private entity can also think of sponsoring a grant challenge. Grants, who can avail it? Grants can be availed by students, individual innovators who are not students, recognized startups and MSMEs, of course, incubators and accelerators, and if you're a women, scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, or other backward caste candidate, if you identify as one, there are special categories and privileges that you can avail. So far, any questions? I mean, you can raise hands, or I mean, feel free to ask anything in the Q&A box here. I'm happy to take a pause and answer any questions that you might have.
Participants, please feel free to put your questions in the chat.
Okay, so I'll be starting with one of my favorite schemes, and that is the EIR scheme, the Entrepreneur in Residence scheme. And so we talked about, I mean, the earliest grant is available for a student who is studying possibly in the pre-final year or the final year. And forget startup, they don't even have an MVP, and they're just working on an idea. So there are subsistence grants available from different ministries, and there are more than 350 or 375 different support schemes available. It's difficult to compile them at a central place. I will be happy to talk about some of them which might be of interest to you. And based on area of your work and the nature and scope, we might be able to recommend suitable schemes. But then one scheme I would want to pay extra attention to is the Nidhi EIR scheme. This is from Department of Science and Technology. And this is like a monthly stipend of around 30,000 rupees for a year, while you are still trying to crystallize your idea, right? And so the government is actually paying you to think and build a plan for yourself. This is I would say with the objective that you're not forced to take up a job which you don't like or you don't want to pursue. And there have been many dreams that have been killed because they have to take care of themselves or support a dear family member. And I had a batchmate who was very smart, but he had to run his house, and he was not as lucky as me, and he had to join a job just out of college. So people who are talented, who are actually trying to figure out, and they have an idea, but they haven't yet built an MVP, or they haven't just made a business plan. They're still figuring out. They can avail the entrepreneurship in residence subsistence grant from Department of Science and Technology or the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology. Yeah, mentors can refine the idea. They can help vet the business plan, help them create a strategy during this 12 months. They can get access to plug and play co-working facilities, access to workshops, conferences, meetups. And so far, more than 221 people. This is last year's data. I'm yet to update this year's data because we'll get this after this quarter ends. There are more than 20 different nodal centers for this. I'm sure there's one in Punjab. And if you want to get access to the complete list, please contact the organizers after this and they'll be happy to give you more details. Then what happens when you have an idea? Now your idea is crystallized, you know exactly what you've got to do. Now you need to build a prototype. And this is where possibly if your friends and family members are not generous enough, you might hit a roadblock. So the government will again come into play here, and they'll act angels, Santa Claus, and they'll give you around 10 lakh rupees to build that prototype. It helps if there is a hardware component, but then we have seen that a lot of startups who are not into the hardware space or not into manufacturing, they have also been able to avail this if they're able to justify the value addition that they're doing. So this cannot be used to just build an Shopify business or pure.com business where there is very little value addition. So if you're just trying to build a website and aggregate things, possibly this is not the best grant for you. But then if you're doing something innovative, if you have a product, a physical product, or a hardware, or a mix of both, I mean, you can be assured that this grant will take care of your requirements of funding at this point in time. I myself availed this, and I can tell you 10 lakhs is not a big amount, but it's not a very small amount either. It is good enough to maybe build your first MVP. It might not be the perfect prototype, but yeah, it will create a proof of concept. And you'll be able to showcase this to others who might then fund the second stage of prototyping or iteration. So then again, around 322 startups have benefited, and there are around 31 centers all across India where you can go and avail this. A lot of application process has already been made online, so you don't actually need to visit. But just in case you want to go there and speak to people, I encourage you should be doing that. So what you can use this money for? You can use it for design, engineering. You can make payments to consultants, experts. You can buy raw material, consumable spares. You can even use it for business travel. Use this money to file a patent, and this cannot be used to pay the rentals to the TBI or the incubator. This cannot be used to make any loan repayments, which the commitment of which was made earlier. It cannot be used to pay rent or own accommodation or any infrastructure that you might have. Ideally, this fund should be used for prototype development, and you are supposed to show the fund utilization by providing bills and invoices of whatever expenditure you have incurred. Like I said, there are more than 350 or 370 different schemes. It's difficult to recall all of them, but considering I'm assuming most of you would be early stage, seed stage, or students, incubatees. These are some of the most important schemes which I would encourage you to Google. The Department of Science and Technology, the AIR, the subsistence grant or the fellowship is giving you around 30,000 rupees per month for 12 months. You should also take a look at the DST BIRAC SIIP fellowship of 50,000 per month for 18 months plus 5 lakhs in Kickstart grant. The Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology TIDE 2.0 AIR grant will give you 4 lakhs per startup for 12 months. The TIDE 2.0 grant will give you 7 lakhs per startup for 12 months for prototype development. Nidhi Prayas gives you prototyping grant of around 10 lakhs for 12 months. This is again for prototype development. BIRAC has a BIG scheme where the grant in aid up to 50 lakhs for 18 months is provided. This is again one of my favorite schemes, particularly startups in healthcare, health tech, medtech, biomedical devices, or agri-tech can benefit from the BIRAC BIG scheme. Then you have BIRAC BIG NER of 25 lakhs for 24 months. ASIM support to scheduled caste entrepreneurs to 30 lakh for a period of 3 years, and MSME grants of 15 lakh for 12 months. So after I availed the DST Nidhi Prayas grant 10 lakh rupees in prototyping, I was also lucky enough to avail 15 lakhs from MSME. And then seed and leap fund the different agencies, BIRAC, NSTDB, Invent, TDB. So all of this can range from around 5 lakh rupees to 50 lakh rupees. Yeah. Any questions?
We do have one or two. For example, Shubham is asking, does a founder need to incorporate the organization to be eligible for grants? What is the recommended way?
So you don't need to incorporate to apply for a grant. Especially if you're applying for a fellowship grant of 30,000 rupees a month, that can be as an individual, you need to provide your Aadhaar ID. And even if you're applying for a prototyping grant, you can apply as an individual. Yeah, but when you avail the grant, it is expected that in the next 1 year, you should be able to structure, your idea and the business plan. And it is expected that towards the end, you should have a registered startup, but that's not a prerequisite for availing these grants. But then there are other big ticket grants of up to 50 lakh to 1.5 crores. Again, there it's not a precondition that you apply as a company. You can apply as an individual, but it is expected that in the due course you will register a company. Hello, Vineet. Nidhi EIR is for technology entrepreneurs. Yeah. So there are different type of grants available from different ministries or agencies. Department of Science and Technology has the mandate to promote science and technology. So at least one co-founder in the team has to be an engineer registered and enrolled in any of these engineering schools, and or can be an MSc graduate or a PhD. It's not exactly required that the business has to be a tech business, but there has to be a component there that justifies the use of technology for doing or achieving a bigger. Let's suppose I want to open a cafe, so definitely Department of Science and Technology is not going to fund me a cafe, or whether it is a online cafe or an offline cafe, so that's not getting funded. So obviously Department of Science and Technology would want to see a component where technology is being leveraged to solve a bigger problem. We are on revenue generating stage of 1.2 crore per annum. Can we apply for a grant? Of course, why not? And the if you are a revenue generating company, obviously that makes you, and if you have 1.2 crores, that makes you ineligible to apply for something as small as 30,000 or even 4 lakhs or 10 lakhs. There are bigger grants for you. You can apply for 50 lakhs or maybe 1 crore or 1.5 crore. Like I said, grants are available at all stages, even at commercialization stage or go-to-market stage, or even scale-up stage. It depends on what is the purpose of availing that grant. And remember, grants are not available for the larger objectives of the company. Grants are made available for a specific project or purpose that you are applying for. So I want to expand my company, and my company has, let's say, 20 different products and 200 SKUs. You have to make it very crisp, and your ask has to be very clear as to what you want to do with that grant. Where is the innovation component involved? What kind of R&D are you doing? And so we have seen bigger companies which are now developing new products, or they're tinkering with new markets, or they're trying to pivot from a particular product or in a particular category to another product in another category. They can still avail these grants. So if, let's suppose, you have a hardware that is in healthcare space, and the same hardware is now being repurposed to be made useful in agri-tech space, yeah, you can avail another grant for the same, even if you are revenue generating, if you have sizable revenue from the first product. Business partner and investor for my healthcare services company. Thank you, Jagaram. But I don't think I'm the best business partner for you at this point in time. Yeah.
We have got a few more questions on the chat as well.
Sure. Okay, I'm trying to read through it. If I'm working on making a product from paddy, as stubble burning is a big problem, what are the suitable grants and what are the requirements to apply if the startup is in the ideation stage? If the startup is in the ideation stage, Madhav Kalia, you should apply for the EIR grant. If you are an engineer, it helps. If not, onboard somebody in your team who has been to an engineering school, and that will help. Paddy burning is a big problem, and you can avail grants from Department of Science and Technology, as well as from Department of Biotechnology. The BIRAC Sparsh grant or the BIRAC Big grant is ideal for you. Again, Ministry of Agriculture has a grant called RVKY Raftar, Rashtriya Kisan Vikas Yojana. Rashtriya Kisan is RK, Vikas is V, Yojana Y. So if you just Google, Rashtriya Kisan Vikas Yojana, Raftar is the name of the scheme, RAFTAAR. You can get around 25 lakh rupees to get started. Is there any special grant for women-led startups or women co-founder? Yes. In fact, that's a big priority for different agencies to accelerate the growth of women entrepreneurs. It helps even for general companies to have one woman co-founder in the team. That creates a lot of trust. And if the woman co-founder has a stake of 26% or more, it helps. That qualifies the company as the company with women in leadership, and the chances that you will get that grant become high. But then there are very specific grants for companies which are led by women, where at least 26% stake is with the women co-founder. So you cannot play around and just give 5% equity to a woman co-founder and expect the startup to qualify in that category. There has to be at least 26% stake with the women co-founder. In fact, till 15th of March, IIT Delhi is inviting for applications for companies which are led by women. The companies can be considered for a grant of up to 5 lakh rupees. In the past, we have seen similar grant programs from AIC Banastali Vidyapeeth and IIT Bombay and Bangalore and a couple of other. Government of Telangana has a incubation program which is entirely for women, and if you don't find a specific scheme, it will still help if there is a woman co-founder. Yeah, it's a high priority for all corporates and all government agencies. Is there possibilities for prop tech at prototype? I assume prop tech means property tech. And we want to prototype what? I mean, is this a website or an app, or is this a automation device? You can prototype anything in any category, as long as, I mean, it's leveraging technology in a way and there is some value addition. My wife is co-founder in this company. Great. Like I said, your chances would be much better if I'm not aware of the stake she holds, if it is at least 26%. So any support for agri-based idea stage? Yes. So agri is a big sector. It can include anything from soil science to, agri IoT to agri drones and all of it. So you can apply for METI, DST, BIRAC, and Ministry of Agriculture, RKVY, Raftar. So there are 4 schemes for you. Okay, I guess. Rajiv Nagpal developed indigenous technology for manufacturing 100%. Substitute product for steel sector. Developed indigenous technology for steel sector. You can approach. So a different public sector organizations, they also have different schemes and grants. And there is a mandate with the CSR team to spend this grant. You will not be able to receive it directly in your account, but through an incubator of your choice, which is eligible to accept CSR money in their account, you can approach the Steel Authority of India Limited and or any other PSU which is operating in the entire steel value chain, and you can make use of their CSR funds to develop this technology, I guess. So a lot of PSUs have startup schemes, beginning from oil and gas, ONGC, Indian Oil, to the smallest of PSUs and in the power sector, distribution sector, steel, shipping. All of them have startup programs and funds. So I guess you can approach any DST incubator in your state, because they have the mandate and they can receive the CSR funds in their account, and from there it can be channelized to you. E-commerce company in grocery by the name, okay, and some trading tech, channel. Franchisees and channel partners. Unfortunately, grants are not available for expanding a franchisee or channel partner. I mean, you have to, create some value, tangible value, and they would want to see some physical product. Or what is so innovative about this that stops other people from doing this? It's not easy to comprehend in these 4 or 5 lines you have written. So if I have to make a decision on the basis of information supplied, pure play e-commerce companies, or like I said, if you have set up something on Shopify and if you want a grant, that's not going to work. Shubham Singla, what documentation should a founder focus on primarily? Okay, I'll take you through that. And Kumar Saurabh, I'm sure the hosts can answer this. Yeah. Galaxy, if both are male, great. I am also male, and my co-founder was also male. We never faced a problem in securing the grant, so that doesn't disqualify you. There are some special incentives for women now, but they're also, I would say, far less than what we should be ideally doing. But this doesn't mean that all the agencies are only focused on women co-founders. In fact, more than 90% of all the grants go to companies which are led by men. We should be changing that. But yeah, you don't have reasons to worry at this stage. There is an interesting statistics. In fact, the Mudra loans, almost 40, not 40, more than 70% of all applicants and beneficiaries are women. But in the grant space or in the entrepreneurship space, we are yet to see that kind of surge. And trust me, it will be a good day when that happens. Then you can possibly join them as a co-founder. Yeah. Online ambulance booking services. Okay, online ambulance booking. Yeah, you can. But what is so unique about this? Where will you be creating value? Is it just a website and a phone number? Possibly not. Need for tech development? It is in Shopify. Yeah, of course. I have a software subscription startup. Yeah, why not? Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology has grants for software and IT focused companies as well. While Department of Science and Technology is focused more on physical products. Can you please give some names and information of agri-based incubators in India? Okay. Can you, Madhav Kalia, can you just Google RKVY Raftar? Yeah, this will give you a list of the nodal centers.
Ashutosh, should we get a few people? Maybe they can share a quick case, and maybe this can be more interactive that way. So they can also share a few data points from their side. Let's say somebody was sharing they have some revenue, somebody was sharing they have some product developed, things like that. Maybe so that way it can be more. They can share more information, and even more relevant programs can be shared.
Sure. So far, I've been picking up from the Q&A box.
Definitely.
It will be great to see them over here. So a lot of them still left here. Maybe where are you applying for Ayurveda? Where you should do under biotechnology. One of the BIRAC schemes, there are more than 5 schemes there, be a good fit. Food processing startup, manufacturing healthy, nutritious, preservative-free health drink. Okay. I don't know what is the source. If it is, I mean, anything that can help in the food processing sector, you can apply for one of the agri development schemes. And let's get to meet and hear from you directly.
So before we kind of open that out, just a quick kind of snippet here. I just want to share a quick experience. So I used to run a startup called Pintfresh, and we were in the indoor hydroponic space, and we were kind of prototyping and building all these things out. And seeing us, we had about 7 or 8 other companies copy exactly what we did. There's only one difference. Either I spent all my money in prototyping, whereas these guys copied our product and got the grants to do the prototyping, which they kept in their thing, and kind of suddenly became 4 times, 5 times our size within 3 months. So, guys, these grants are really important. They are these very, very important things at the kind of lower level when you're starting off, because it helps you quickly get to the product market fit, quickly get to the long and narrow, and at that time I think you can kind of push and grow. So that time you become investment ready. But this is really important. I can't. Thank you so much, Ashutosh. We'll let everybody else talk, but it's been a revelation for me. Thank you so much. At least
I'm sorry for the loss there, but the grants also help you you can use the money to file the patent in not only India, anywhere in the world, and also get your trademark secured.
So now I'm feeling worse and worse the more you tell me. I'm actually feeling I should have known this a couple of at least a year ago. Okay, I'll let everybody else come in and let them take this forward. So Dhaval, are we opening it up? Let's kind of get some people.
Yeah. I think Jatin is having an agri startup and he's eager to talk.
Sure. Let's get him on.
Yeah, Jatin. You can unmute.
Yeah, hi. I'm audible?
Hello. Yeah.
Yeah. See, we have a plan, like it's an idea stage. We are planning to have a agree to be organized in first in Punjab, where we want to have to have proper training programs for the people those who are already related to the agriculture, and they'll be able to create more opportunities and the more good crops which will be able to give us more revenue. Means the first is the training systems to be settled through mobile applications and all, and in the regional language, so that more people should get awareness how to get more revenue out of agri in Punjab. And then, of course, the second part is we want to introduce tech systems, machines, and other mobile-based processes where the farmers could understand this is the time where they can do this and that. These are the two things where we want to have this. And the last thing is we want to have a solar system or energy system to be embed or say set there in the agri fields, so that they'll be able to produce energy from there, and that energy could be able to run that particular village. They could able to get energy from there only, so that they should not be load there on the government for that energy part. So these are the 3 things for which we are planning. And is there any possibility to get funding for this?
Yeah, Jatin, thank you for sharing what you've been doing. But just a word of caution, you can't take more than one person on a date, right?
Yeah.
So you can't apply for so many things in a single grant, and each one of them would require a different application. And grants are not there to help you make your company big. Grants are there to solve you a specific problem. So the problem has to be very well articulated, and it can be development of a product or a project. I would recommend not including everything in your grant application. You don't have to give your 5-year or 10-year plan. Yeah.
So we have the focus areas only to have a tech-based, mobile-based system.
But you mentioned
So
3 or 4 major important things, and each of them might find a suitable grant or a different agency partner at a different stage. And
my
to
my
begin with,
target is to train people. First is to train people so that people
correct.
should not.
So
Yeah.
to train people, there might be a grant which you can avail from the Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship, or if there is a component that you're creating micro entrepreneurs, you can uh, look at livelihood missions and grants there. And then again, you want to do different things, right? You want to solar energy, and you spoke about a couple of other things, hardware, technology, and all. There you can look at National Renewable Energy Mission, Department of Science and Technology, and other agencies. So it is possible that at different stages and for different projects, you will need assistance from different agencies. Maybe speaking with and coordinating with different people might be time taking, but yeah, you have to go through. There is no single window where you list down all your problems and they apply to all the grants on your behalf. So that's not happening as of now. You will need 4 or 5 different agencies at different stages in your venture building process.
Right. I can understand. Thanks. And if it is possible to share the link, so I'll be able to go through and get the application process.
Sure. And yeah. So there's Pawandeep who's saying grants in healthcare services as social enterprise, and if it is not for profit. If it is not for profit, it's easier to get CSR grants. If it's not for profit, it's easier to get grants from multilateral agencies. But most of the government agencies want you to be for profit. They are not making money. They're not asking for returns, but they want you to make money, and that's not a bad thing.
Okay, Saurabh also has a question. It's more, team structure related. So we'll have him speak.
Sure.
Yeah, Saurabh. Hello, Saurabh. Fine. Seems he has some issues connecting. So what he was asking is, apparently he's
Hello.
creating. Yeah, Saurabh, please.
Yes, thanks for the same. Ashutosh, I have a question for you specifically. I'm trying to create a software aggregation platform and trying to offer a single subscription to access to all softwares. Now the issue is obviously I need a back end where I can get an account of who is getting logged in and who is getting logged out. But I don't have a tech co-founder. So how does that affect me, or how does that hamper me?
I couldn't hear you for the last 10 seconds, please.
I'm trying to say I don't have a co-founder, but the thing I'm trying to develop is obviously a technical thing. So how does that hamper me? What should I do to resolve this particular issue?
What is your background? What did you do
I'm
in?
trying to create a software
No,
subscription
that's
platform.
fine. What did you do in your college? Bachelor's in
I'm in my MBA,
MBA, and
marketing.
what did you do for your bachelor's?
I did my BTech in electrical engineering.
Okay, and you need another technical co-founder.
I won't say I need another technical co-founder. I am just trying to understand that does that hamper me in any sense? Well,
Of course, they would look when you will be making your pitch. They will look at the roles and responsibilities of the team, and they would want to know who is doing what. They would want to believe that you have a capable team, that you will be able to build the product.
So, what is the issue in hiring someone who understands the tech?
You can hire. You can. That's not a problem.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much, Ashutosh. Where should I start if I need some grants or anything? From where should I start?
You can start
It is
from writing a grant application
to whom?
to whichever grant you want to apply. Should I give you a sample grant application?
Yes, please.
Okay, just a second.
Personally, Ashutosh, sir, what do you think about it? Uh, to aggregate all the software into one subscription. What are your thoughts on this?
I am not here for an idea validation bootcamp. I will reserve my
Okay.
comment, but
Okay.
I wish you all the best. So this
Thank you
is
so
not the right
much.
platform to critique your business.
Okay, no issue, no issue.
But then, Saurav, you can always connect to our team. I'll share our contact details as well. And so this can be a long process, and we can help you with that.
Yes, obviously. Please share your link so I can get in
Surely,
touch.
surely, surely. Just a minute.
I would like to share one feedback. This is probably the first interaction where you can actually have a real time discussion with someone. Otherwise, it is just a chat and you can't actually understand the issue you are trying to solve. So, really,
True.
thank you so much for this platform.
Awesome. So I've shared our social media handles as well, and
Okay.
Deeksha has also shared a common email ID that you can always reach us through.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Maybe are you able to download something using this?
Let me try.
This is the okay timed.org.in.
Yeah, I mean, if you go there, I mean, maybe it's a sample application. There, it's not the most.
Mm-hmm.
I would say, but yeah, I mean, your application might look like this document, and you can check the fields and produce information which you have to fill in there.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Thank
Yeah.
you so much.
Thanks. Uh, then we also had an interesting question from Avik. Avik, would you want to come up? I'll just send you the request, or else maybe I can push that question. Okay. Avik is basically asking that if they incorporate in a certain way, let's say a specific company type, which is let's say private limited or an LLP or a partnership, is there any specific one which helps them get these grants?
As long as you're recognized by DPIIT and by your
Right.
state mission, I mean, there is no extra point for any particular type of ownership structure. But
Right.
let's suppose you are tinkering with something where there could be damages. So it's always better to be a private limited. Let's suppose you're in the healthcare space, right? And in your trials, some unfortunate thing happened. If you're a partnership, the partners would be individually liable for these damages, right? While you can be a partnership firm and you can still get a DPIIT number, but who will pay for these damages during trials? And in case of a private limited company, during the trial phase, or even at any growth stage or future, the liability of the company is restricted, and the individual shareholders are not responsible for any such damages. So the cost of incorporating company as a private limited was exorbitantly high during our times. It was like 30, 40,000 or more. I guess it has come down to less than 5,000. I recommend you incorporate as a private limited, but other forms would also be considered, and that doesn't disqualify you from availing a grant.
Okay. Then Dr. Vishwa also has a interesting question. Maybe if you also would want to come up and share, or else I'll put up. Dr. Vishwa,
Yeah, hello.
hello.
Yeah, actually, I'm trying to apply for, BIREC grants for my prototype development. So, like, there are many places in even in Nidhi Prayas also. They ask like, name the scientific advisory group. Like, I need some people from biotechnology or something. So, how do I find these people?
Correct. That's a good point. So, Bairaka, are you applying for Sparsh or BIG?
Yeah, BIG probably. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I guess for BIG, there are 4 or 5 main centers. IIT Delhi, of course, is the one. In East, you have KIT TBI in Bhubaneswar. You have IKP in Hyderabad. You have C Camp in Bangalore, and you have Venture Center in Pune. And then you have a lot of smaller bionests as well. I guess there are more than 50 bionests through which you could apply. But you need to have or showcase a mentor who would be possibly helping you during the prototyping phase. It helps, and you need to receive a LOI from any one of these nodal centers, that in case you are granted the fund, they will be mentoring and incubating you. So you need to get an LOI before applying. And if you have trouble, I can connect you with my team who handles the BIRAC schemes, and they will possibly help you with the LOI and the mentoring process. If you're not able to find a mentor yourself, you can take help of any of the incubators in your state. I guess there's a good number of them. I guess maybe more than 10 now, maybe more than 20. I'm not updated. And they will help you find a mentor in that particular domain, which will increase your chances of receiving the grant.
Yeah, definitely. Because while during filling the form, they ask the mentors and the scientific advisory group. So, like, I'm really, not able to find out to whom should I go, because, like, I want to develop, a type of strip, anion chips, in the sanitary napkins I'm working, which can help, to provide an antibacterial feel in the sanitary napkins. So I'm working on this. So I think I need some people from the biotechnology discipline. So exactly, like, I'm very confused that from where should I get these people? How will they, make a trust on me or the?
So
So these are the problems.
there is a center of innovative and applied bioprocessing in Mohali, and I am not aware where you're based. But
I'm
Bairaq,
based in Ghaziabad. Yeah.
you're based in Ghaziabad, then you should
Yeah.
entirely come to IIT Delhi. It's near to you.
Okay. Uh-huh. So please tell me, guide me in this context.
Surely, please, you can take my details from the host, or I'll give in the last slide. It's there. You can WhatsApp me, and I'm happy to connect you with my team who handles BIRAC schemes. So I did not study biology after standard 10, and I will not be the best person to guide you on this.
Mm-hmm. Thank
Okay.
you.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, and so this is again somebody, I don't know the name, but then his interest was towards schemes and support system in tourism department. Anything that you might be aware of?
See, schemes and supports can exist from tourism department or coconut department or whatever department, right? You have to focus on where is the innovation, what is the value addition, which department is it from. That doesn't bother me, right? So grants are not a form of self-employment so far, right? And thankfully so. You can have a product or service in any sector, but you have to show some, place where you're leveraging technology and you are adding a lot of value. Yeah.
Okay. And so who else? Acha, we addressed all these questions from Q&A, right? The documents that a founder should be primarily working on to secure the grant.
Yeah, so I gave him this sample form, and
Okay,
based on
great.
different schemes, there are different forms to fill. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Jagaramji, if you have a very specific question, you can always type in. Maybe then we can have you put the question.
Ashutosh, maybe you want to give out some of those tricks and hacks while applying for the grants, the generic ones that people might want to keep in mind when applying for the grants.
Sure. Thank you. That's a very important point, and much more than understanding about what to write in your grant application. While it's quite simple, you might see the form and it would look like it's easy. It's important to know what not to write in a grant application. So while when you're making your pitch deck, you are trying to essentially sell a dream, and the grant application doesn't need to look like your pitch deck, and you don't have to blow a bubble there. Be very crisp, as precise as possible, and then for each of these grant applications, if you are interested and if there is sizable interest, we might want to do another detailed deep dive session on particular sector focused grant application process. But like I said, there are different nodal centers for different grant schemes, and of course Delhi, Mumbai, Bangalore, of these would be centers with the most number of applications because there are many startups here. But let's suppose there are 31 nodal centers all across India. There's, let's suppose, one in Jammu and Kashmir. The number of applicants there would be very few. Or let's suppose there are 2 centers in Himachal Pradesh. You can assume that the number of applications in Himachal Pradesh center would be less than the Chandigarh center. So, it's not a hack exactly, but why not apply through centers which are relatively not so big in smaller towns, where chances of getting accepted are higher, and why they are looking at these grants is because they want to attract talent, and it's more difficult for them to attract talent than for incubators or nodal agencies in bigger cities. So let's suppose there is a nodal center in Mohali. They will have the maximum number of applicants in Punjab, of course, because it's the central place. But if you have a nodal center in, let's suppose, Amritsar, not that it's not an important place, but then I would prefer going through a smaller center than a bigger center, just for the sake of ease in the application process, mentoring, or the chances of success. The nodal center only acts as a facilitator to help you apply and all the processes. It doesn't hamper your relationship with the donor or the sponsoring agency in any way. You can still utilize the entire network of all the nodal centers in case you have some specific requirement. Let's suppose you are in Punjab and you received a grant from a center in Punjab, and tomorrow you want some raw materials which are only available in Tamil Nadu. The center in Punjab can call up the center in Tamil Nadu and can help arrange those things. You don't actually have to go there in Tamil Nadu. Or even if, like, suppose you are domiciled in Punjab, that doesn't disqualify you from availing a grant or support in some other state of India. And most of these state-specific schemes also do not discriminate on the basis of domicile, but possibly registration of business, and that can be done as quickly as possible these days in 1 or 2 days. And yeah, so I would recommend if there is a grant that has special consideration for a women co-founder. Let's suppose the woman co-founder has 20% stake. If it helps increasing that stake to 26%, why not? So you can clearly take a look at the eligibility criteria and see what can be tweaked in the best interest, and yeah, go for it and give your best shot.
Okay, so Shubham also says that again, if they want to have a quick look at the nodal centers, I mean, where should they look? Is it some state government websites, central government websites?
Okay, and they want to take a look at the centers.
Yeah.
Just let me check if I can. Give me a minute or maybe
Yep.
30 seconds, I'll get you. Maybe this helps.
Yes.
And this is for idea stage, 30,000 rupees subsistence grant. And if you have any specific request for any particular nodal agency in a particular sector, you can, the best way to get answer is to go to an incubator nearest to you, or yeah, you can speak to the host and they can get the answers for you in case, and they should be able to help you there. But just in case you still want coordinates, yeah.
Ashutosh, one more quick question in terms of availing the grant. So, for example, there are of course pros and cons of availing grants. Is there also any? So, once you've received the grant, what's the timeline like from the time of being told that you're eligible for the grant and you'd be getting the grant to actually getting the grant, as well as what are the kind of pros and cons that one should keep in mind in terms of when they do receive a grant?
Sure, that's an important consideration. So many a times we have seen that the grant not actually helps the company, but in fact destroys the company. And you would be wondering why I'm saying so. Because once you get, I don't want to use this word, but for the lack of better word, once you get easy money, some rigor is lost. And at times, most of the rigor is lost. And people become complacent and they are not as serious as they should be. So we have seen companies which have received sizable amount of grant not doing well because the founding team took it for granted. The grants were taken for granted then. So you should not take them for granted. It's an investment from your state or your country in you, with the promise that you will build a promising enterprise for our future generations. You should not waste this opportunity. And so there is a process after you submit the application. There is a screening committee which will screen through the application. They will shortlist. If required, they will call you for an interview. Most of these interviews are online these days. And You'll be required to demonstrate what you want to do, and you will receive a letter of sanction in case you are accepted. If you receive a letter of sanction, that's a good enough, assurance that you're finally going to get the money. But the final check might take anywhere from 1 month to 6 months to land in your bank account. And if you have received the letter of sanction, there are again other ways to finance your operations or prototyping during this time, because you can raise money from the market using that letter of sanction. But ideally, the money doesn't land the next morning in your Paytm wallet. It takes a considerable amount of time. So you be patient and don't lose hope during that period. And trust me, you don't have to grease any palm. And I mean, there is no, I would say, sort of lobbying that's required for this. It's a very small amount of money as long as a state government or a central government department is concerned. And of all the officials I have met, they are very diligent and honest in discharging their duties.
Great. We'll keep this platform open for one last question. I mean, if somebody has just one last question, maybe quickly you guys can post. This is the last question we'll be taking up.
And mind you, the grants don't come in a single check. So let's suppose I promised you that I will give you 50 lakhs. That doesn't mean you get a check of 50 lakhs. So it will be milestone based. Whatever your project goal or the product goal is, we will define that into different various milestones. And let's suppose you're not able to meet stage 1 milestone. The next check for stage 2 will never arrive. And you will have to provide evidence of the expenditure you have incurred in terms of bills and invoices. So you have to document that as well. If you fail to produce evidence in support of the expenditure for that particular milestone, the next check won't come to you. So yeah, you will need some help with keeping your accounts, and if you don't already know all of that.
We apparently don't have any questions. I think mostly all the questions have been answered. That's what it is.
Tourism grant, oh yeah, any sector, but I mean, tell me, how are you leveraging technology and what is the value addition that you're doing in the tourism sector, whatever service or product it might be? I have seen startups which are leveraging AR and VR that acts as a virtual guide when you visit, historical monuments. So there you are using technology to increase tourism and employment and revenue and whatever. So, I mean, anything, it will fall in tourism, it will fall in AR, VR. So don't give me, when I ask for categories on the basis of industry sectors, give me on the basis of underlying technology there. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess the point is overall for all the grants, it's more to do with the technology and the innovation, and not as much as which industry you're creating an aggregator app for, or which industry is it that you kind of creating any service for. So the impact needs to come from a certain defined innovation, and that's what you'd get a grant. And thus getting grants for tangible products is fairly probably easier than to get it for anything service oriented, and which cannot be measured, the impact of which cannot be measured or seen immediately, right? So that remains to be a slight challenge, of course, but at the same time, innovation requires some sort of validation, and therefore it's important that it is kind of a bit tangible in that aspect.
Yeah. And then more than grants, now the next stage is that a lot of government departments and a lot of, I would say, agencies have started with their own seed funds as well. So once you are through the grant stage, if it's difficult for you, particularly if you are in a sector which is challenging to get risk capital, you can avail different grants and seed fund from different government agencies. So you have the Startup India Seed Fund with up to 20 lakh rupees as grant for validation of POC, up to 50 lakhs as investment. The BIRAC Seed Fund, the BIRAC Leap Fund, which is for scale ups, NSTDB Seed Fund, and Invent Seed Support. So if you are already at a fairly advanced stage, if you have already made your prototype, if you have early revenue and good traction, you can approach seed funds from different government departments and not the prototyping grant schemes. And I usually try to compile all these schemes and grants and put this on a Twitter handle and a Facebook page, which I moderate. You are welcome to take a look at it and remain updated about different things which is happening. But the best way to get most accurate information is to visit the incubator nearest to you or contact your state mission for support. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Ashutosh, for this session. And if anyone has any one or two last questions to ask, please feel free to pop them up over here. I think, all right, great. So that's about it, guys. Like Ashutosh has already said, best source of information, you can always go to the nearest incubator and find out more about the grants over there. Ashutosh has, of course, already shared his details over here. He also runs a very interesting WhatsApp page also for innovation ecosystem. So of course, you can connect with him to become a part of that also. Lots of good information, always available on that page. And the other thing, of course, remains that we at IIM Punjab are also already there for you guys. So do reach out to us whenever you need to know anything around entrepreneurship, your own idea, you need any kind of validation. More than happy to support you and handhold you through any of your challenges. Great. Thank you so much, Ashutosh, for the session today.
Thank you. There's this question, interesting question from Anurag. As a student, yes. How can I overcome the fear of failure? Anurag, the best time to start is now. And trust me, even if you fail, you will become a better person. So there is no reason, why you should not kickstart your journey. And even if you're not ready with everything, that's why we have EIR fellowship grants. It will support you with 30,000 rupees every month till you get that confidence.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone. And thank you for having me with you today. Look forward to interacting with you. Bye-bye.
Great. Thanks, Itan. Thank you.